It's finally happening and this is great. If we take a look at it, Nintendo remasters and remakes weren't really noticeable in many different ways, with remasters being considered remakes and remakes being considered remasters. Honestly, that has completely changed in 2026, with Star Fox releasing later this week and the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake releasing later this year. There's definitely a lot of great things when you look at it. Is this finally the future for Nintendo, or is this something completely different? Is a complete other studio working on these games, or is this going to be the not so distant future moving forward? Let's get straight into it. Now, honestly, when I really take a look at this, I love remasters and remakes. Being able to play your old fan favorite game from years ago back in a new console and new generation, there is something truly special about that. It kind of brings the life of the game once again. Everyone has a game that they grew up with. For me, that might be Skylanders, Zelda, or even Kirby Triple Deluxe. But at some point, all of these games really combine together to make something truly special. When you get yourself a remaster or a remake, there always is just that joy, that feeling, that moment that you just look at the screen and wow, I'm finally playing this game once again. But now when you look at remasters are pretty much just a fresh coat of paint with maybe extra features and calling it a day. Remakes, on the other hand, oh boy, Nintendo completely took this out of proportion. With Star Fox releasing later this week and the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake releasing later this year, there's definitely a lot of things when you really look at it. Honestly, you can definitely tell a difference between games like this matter, because my goodness, the games actually look awesome. In Star Fox's case, it seems like that is mostly just a remaster of a remaster, so you can tell that it pretty much is a fresh coat of paint that looks absolutely insane, but the gameplay is pretty much a little different. It's still a bit too early to tell with the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, but oh boy, you can already see that Link's bed's completely different. Now, if we look at it, with Nintendo's next remaster or remake is something going to go alongside. Because even with just Star Fox being like Star Fox again, there still is something truly special and seeing your game like this, because oh boy, with the Nintendo Switch 2 not having any restrictions right now, there definitely is a lot of things that Nintendo could do. Potentially with the next 3D Mario remake or remaster, they could do so many different things. We end up with Mario that looks like this, saving the Mushroom Kingdom in your dreams that you would have thought, or is it going to be something like this? Honestly, whatever the case may be, I'm sure it's going to be fine. And we know that Nintendo isn't done making remasters and remakes. In fact, at this point, it's pretty much just their whole business model. Make as many remasters as possible, we can resell the same game over and over again. Now, I don't necessarily think that this is a bad thing, because then it allows players to play the game once again. I know what you're thinking. Well, they could have just left the eShop open, but at some point, those games would have felt outdated. And if you re-see the games from the past, it honestly is fantastic. If you look at it, back then, you can see that remasters and remakes had no color whatsoever, with The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D being considered a remake. Which now, when you look at it, that's just a remaster. It's essentially just The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time with a fresh coat of paint, call it a day, and there you go. If you look at it, Metroid Prime Remaster is one that you would really consider a remaster. That game is a fresh coat of paint, sure, but adds so many things to the game that honestly is fantastic. This is fantastic. This is a great way to look at it. Nintendo probably has all of these things sort of lined up and associated to. So the next time that we see a remaster get announced, it's probably going to look something similar to Ocarina of Time or even Star Fox. It seems like this might be their new engine that they've been working on. We can call it Nintendo Switch 2 Engine 2.0. Honestly, this is something really great. With Kirby's 35 coming later next year, this is honestly really cool. You could potentially see those long-awaited Kirby remasters get that sort of surprise, so making the games look absolutely insane. And I think there's something to it. Making a game not only play good but look insane, there's so many ways that you just get sucked into the game. At least I do. Because I love a game that plays well, but I also love a game that looks inherently good. At first, I wasn't the biggest fan of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I thought that game was choppy, looked weird, and played decently. But now when we look at it, I can't wait to jump into The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. After playing it on the 3DS version and then noticing there's still a little bit things here, you know, seeing a brand new light is really cool. And I honestly think that this is definitely the new engine for Nintendo. So the next time that we see these remasters or remakes, there's going to be something different. When they announce a remake, you can assume that there's going to be something different. In the case of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, we've already pointed this out, but Link has a Triforce of Courage. This could mean nothing. This could just mean that he was marked with the Triforce of Courage. He was marked, he doesn't actually own it. But in my case, remakes usually lean in the direction that something is going to be different with the game, and that is completely okay. Technically, if you wanted it to be, it could be a sequel. Nintendo is great at making sequels of video games because it gives you that first experience, but sort of different in a different way, which honestly, this is great. I can't wait to see what's next for Nintendo, because these games all look absolutely insane. The Nintendo Switch 2 is more than powerful enough to give you a perfect light, a perfect way to look at games. And I'm sure that the next one is going to be absolutely awesome. Now, with the talks of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess potentially coming out, there's definitely a lot of questions when it comes to it. Is this going to be a remaster, a remake, or just a port? There's a difference in every single one of them, and usually when you look at it, a port is pretty much just the game. Yeah, not changed whatsoever. A remaster is a fresh coat of paint. There you go. So it changes up the paint besides just changing the textures. And then a remake, something completely different. Now that we established all of those things, you can go happy Hamlin in the comment section saying which is your favorite. What are you looking most forward to? Because this is the future of Nintendo. Nintendo remasters and remakes moving forward are going to look absolutely insane. When you really look at it, this probably sells consoles, because you can look at the Switch 2 and you can say, yeah, this is the console that allows me to play my game in a more realistic format, in a cartoony aspect, with beautiful colors and beautiful designs. Overall, I think that this is all some great things, and I can't wait for Star Fox to jump into that. If you haven't played the demo yet, what are you waiting for? Go on and play that demo. This is a way that you're going to experience from years moving forward. This is probably sort of that aspect of Nintendo. Every single console had something special about it. The Wii was motion controls and chucking, I guess, your remote at the TV. The GameCube was maybe the soundtrack and the awesome games. The Switch was being able to bring that thing wherever you want, and since that's already been taken up, the Switch 2 is being able to play your games from pretty much any, with pretty much no restrictions. Of course, every console is going to have a restriction. It's not going to be an RTX 5090 and a PC, but it still is really cool. Overall, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think the future of Nintendo is here, or have we just had a wet dream? Anyways, thank you so much. See you in the next one.